Hi, this is my author presentation on Rainbow Rowell. I'm going to begin with a reading from Fangirl. Reagan grimaced and shuddered again. So why aren't you living with your sister? She wanted to meet new people, Kath said. You make it sound like she broke up with you. Kath speared another Brussels sprout. She lives in Shram, she said to her tray. When she looked up, Reagan was scowling at her. You're making me feel sorry for you again, Reagan said. Kath turned her fork on Reagan. Don't feel sorry for me. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I can't help it, Reagan said. You're really pathetic. I am not. You are. You don't have any friends, and your sister dumped you. You're a freaky eater, and you've got some weird thing about Simon Snow. I object to every single thing you just said. Reagan chewed and frowned. She was wearing dark red lipstick. I have lots of friends, Kath said. I never see them. I just got here. Most of my friends went to other schools, or they're online. Internet friends don't count. Why not? Reagan shrugged disdainfully. And I don't have a weird thing with Simon Snow, Kath said. I'm just really active in the fandom. So we'll get back to more about Fangirl in a minute, but for now, let's learn a little bit more about Rainbow Rowell. Rainbow Rowell is an author of young adult fiction, short stories, and comics. Rainbow is, in fact, the name that she was given at birth, something that I saw her answer over and over again as I went into this deep dive on her. She lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and most of her books take place in Omaha or Nebraska, and she lives with her husband and two children. She began her career as a columnist for the Omaha World Herald, and her books have won awards like the Goodreads Choice Awards and the Michael L. Prince Award for Young Adult Fiction. Her books are very popular. So some influences include the fact that she had a very difficult upbringing. She grew up around abuse, and her father had drug and alcohol abuse issues. She credits her mom for moving them to the city and starting them in a welfare program to basically save them. She says several times that she felt safe when her mother or her father were reading to her growing up, and then just kind of diving into books to escape from her reality. She also thinks of herself as a fangirl. She's a fan of music, movies, comics, and that feeling of fandom comes through in a lot of her stories and novels. So, three of her most popular YA books are Eleanor and Park. That was like her debut novel that really put her on the map as a YA author. Fangirl, and if you want to hear a lot more about Fangirl, which we already did a reading from, you can open up my author handout, and I did a whole summary of Fangirl. And Scattered Showers, which is a collection of short stories that came out in 2022. And I really wanted to show you guys this book. Oh, it's blurring it. Hold on, I need to like turn this blur filter off. I can't turn the filter off, so I just have to hold it right by my face. Okay, so this book is beautiful. It has blue edges. It has a built-in bookmark, and all of the text is burgundy. Oh, you can barely see it. It's okay. It's like censored. Copyright. So it has these gorgeous like teal and burgundy illustrations in it. The text is burgundy with these little like teal pops. You can see it's got this like beautiful back cover with the raindrops. I don't know. It's just like one of the most lovely books I've ever had the chance of working with. So if you're someone who likes little details like that in a book, I would really recommend like picking up the physical copy of it. It's a pleasure. Okay, moving on. She also has the Simon Snow series. So the Simon Snow series is so fun because in Fangirl, the Simon Snow character is basically like Harry Potter. And in lots of interviews, Rowell has said that she's been drawn to these chosen one type stories like Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and the like reluctant, like, you are the one who will save us character. So after Kath writes all of her fan fiction, which basically is around the like Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy characters falling in love. She wrote this series, Simon Snow. It has these three books here about Baz and Simon falling in love. It's sweet. I haven't actually read them, but one of their short stories was in this book here. So I know a little bit about the characters and obviously from Fangirl as well too. So this is like a fantasy genre series. So some themes and commonalities in her work. Romance. There is a lot of romance in all of the books, even though that's not the only thing that's going on. Coming of age, Characters and dialogue that feel real. Hopefully you got that from my reading that I did earlier. Self-discovery, fandom, tough family situations like the one that she grew up out of, and plus size characters. She said in an interview that every single plus size character that she has written, or every single character that she has written, even if she doesn't say it, like the main character is always plus size in her head and heart, just like herself. Also, a lot of the characters consider themselves to be misfits in some way. Some cautions and reservations. So there is some strong language in these books. I am a middle school teacher and I hear the way that middle schoolers talk, let alone like older teenagers and college freshmen. So I don't think it's an unrealistic portrayal of young adults, but they do have a lot of strong language in them. And there are mentions of sex and intimacy, but it's not usually on the page. Also, it's important that you might consider skipping Eleanor and Park, or at least being aware of some very valid criticisms of it. So, since its release, some critics have noted that her characterization of Park, the Korean, he's like a half Korean, half white main character in the book, the way that she writes about him and his family include a lot of Asian stereotypes. Like they're not well written. And she's done several interviews about this. You can see I went into this a little bit more in my author handouts, but she was trying to add diversity to her work and include more people. But a lot of people think that she really missed the mark there. So you'll probably want to look into that about that novel, especially since it's one of her most popular, before you would recommend it to students. So some good reasons to teach her works include representation, because she has many plus size protagonists. And as I mentioned in the Simon Snow series, she talks about queer love, as are some of the stories in this collection. Relatability, the characters just seem written like real people. Themes about identity, self-discovery, and then tackling some tough topics like poverty, racism, and bigotry. So I wanted to bring some of my annotated resources from my author handouts into this presentation because I think they're just a little more accessible here, like in a slideshow format where you can kind of click through and like look at the embedded ones. I'm not actually going to play any of them in this recording, but since I am sharing this presentation with you, I'm hoping that if you are interested in any of these that I described, you can kind of click into them and see them there. So this first one is a movie trailer that a student made for her film production class, and I think it's so well done. She was pretending that she was making a movie about Fangirl, and I think she did an awesome job. This is an interview with Rainbow Rowell at BookCon 2015. This is the interview where she talks about how she always liked the idea of having a chosen one story. This is when she was releasing the Simon Snow series for the first time. And I think it was before the first one came out, so she was only talking about it as like a standalone. She also talks about herself being a Star Wars fan, which is funny because one of my favorite stories in this collection is about a girl camping out to watch Star Wars: The Force Awakens. This one was also about the release of Carry On, and she talks about being a fangirl. She talks about meeting, I'm covering up the text here, Lev Grossman, and how she herself was kind of geeking out about that. And then I've linked 2 podcast episodes. This one is really long, but it was interesting because she talks about being embarrassed by her first name for her whole life and finally like really leaning into it and putting a giant infinite rainbow on the cover of one of her books and like finally embracing rainbow and coming into her own. So it's funny that she writes about teen self-discovery when she's so much older and is still having self-discovery of her own. This is a very quick podcast episode on Morning Edition. This is one where she says that all of her main characters are plus sized and that they are all desirable exactly the way that they are, and they don't need to change themselves to fall in love, and that they deserve to have their stories told. And then my print resource list, I just wanted to like talk a little bit through these, even though I have it printed out in the author handout. So her website is awesome and it's really geared toward young readers. It includes an FAQ that was like obviously written with the most common questions she's getting from teens. This is one where she talks about growing up a lot. Again, the audience here is teens. It's from the YALSA website. So she talks about like what she was interested in as a kid and really like in a detailed manner talks about how she got from being a teenager who loved books to being a successful published author. So any students who are interested in becoming authors might really enjoy this one. This is a super personal interview that she did in 2014 about her past, her abusive father, how she escaped, how reading was a safe haven for her, and how she wants to provide that for others. This one is about censorship. So we talked about some valid criticisms of Eleanor in Park, and in 2013 there were also some like less valid criticisms where a school district picked it as their summer reading pick of the year, and then some concerned parents were saying that it was inappropriate, mostly because of the strong language and the like small scenes of intimacy between the main characters. So there was a book challenge, and this is a very in-depth, um, like play by play of that challenge from the author's perspective. And I thought it was really interesting to look at a book challenge from the point of view of the author who had the challenged book at the time. This one also I thought was kind of unique. So in 2011, the Daily Nebraskan did an interview with Rowell because they heard that she had a novel that was going to be published. So this is right like when she was just a columnist and hadn't had any success yet. So it's really interesting into the insight like of her in that very specific place in time, like before she made it big. Finally, I have included links to the two reviews that I selected here. They're both for Fangirl. One of them calls it charming and the other absolutely captivating. So if you're interested in hearing some professional views about Fangirl, you can click ahead here. So thank you for listening and I hope you've enjoyed.